Hey there, you're listening to the Scale to Sell podcast, the business owners podcast to help you grow and exit your business, where we share with entrepreneurs like you the tactical and practical things you can do so that you can win at work and life. I'm Adam Burton, part of the father-son duo behind this podcast, and I, along with my dad, Steve, and the rest of our Scale to Sell team are here to help business owners get the clarity they need so that they can grow their business and exit on their terms. Now, before we get into the episode, I wanted to let you know about a special opportunity that we have. Knowing the value of the business is foundational to being able to really accurately and appropriately making the decisions that you need in order to help you grow your business and exit on your terms. If you're interested in having a free annual estimate of value done for your business, go to scaletosell.com/discovery. That's scaletosell.com/discovery. Or click the link in the show notes below to book your free call and request that valuation of your business. Again, go to scaletosell.com/discovery to learn more. Well, this is episode 20, the 5 Ds that could disrupt your exit plan. So from our experience, Steve, most business owners think, or at least they act like they're going to work forever, but we know that that's not true. Right? One of our associates that we know that we've learned a lot from, Christopher Snider from the Exit Planning Institute. He's the author of Walking to Destiny. And in that book, he says, quote, "There's a 50% probability that you will be impacted by one of these 5 Ds." That's impressive. That's a really high stat. And that should be really alarming to the business owner that thinks, well, I'm just going to work forever, right?
No doubt. And it doesn't just impact your exit strategy. It could hurt that value if you're not there to run the business or something has happened to the business as we go through these 5 Ds. But hey, if something happens in your business, you're not there, or something has happened inside the business, what happens to your income? What happens to your family? What happens to the business itself? So these are really important. And the stat is 50% chance. If I knew there was a 50% chance my house might get hit by a hurricane, I'm going to have some homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
Car insurance. I know I saw a stat a few years back, and I think there's about a 16% chance you'll total at least one car in your lifetime. Well, you can maybe have the money. I can replace the car, but you insure it because in case you get hurt or in case you hurt somebody else. So my point is scaling with the end in mind is kind of like insurance for the business to make sure the viability of your largest asset, your income source, and or that exit strategy, as you mentioned, make sure you're protecting the value of that largest asset.
Absolutely. Well, and we talk about the desire of business owners and really the need for business owners to exit on their terms, to be able to have a plan in place. And in case something happens in the business, you're able to have that continuation of the business, make sure that your family and others are protected, that you've got the income that you need to keep maintain your lifestyle, make sure that you're able to go on with those things. And these 5 Ds could really disrupt the exit plan. So let's go through each one and talk about the impact that it could have if you don't plan appropriately for it. So the first one, kind of a downer to start with, but death, right? The reality is if people think they're going to work forever, if they're going to own the business forever, at some point, this is going to interfere with that ability.
I see a lot of people, I've got radio shows, I do seminars, workshops, I meet with a lot of people, and I see it all. I see the good, the bad, the ugly, both with individuals, employee type situations, but also with business owners. You've heard of the 46-year-old person that had a heart attack and he's out here. There's no fixing. It's done. What happens to the business? I was driving home from, we live in Virginia. I was driving home from Virginia Beach recently. Actually, me and my wife driving in my Corvette out cruising one Saturday evening. And on the interstate, some motorcycles come racing by and get further down the road, just 2 minutes behind them, and there's a wipeout. Now, I have no idea if one of those people on those motorcycles was a business owner or not, but it very well could have been. And my point is, whether it's an accident, a health issue, or whatever, it could take you out, not just hurt you, but take you out of here. And what would happen to your business? What would happen to your family if you're not here to run the business? if you have the systems and processes and things in place that we talked about last episode and prior episodes, your business may be able to go on without you. But if it doesn't, there's things that you can do to protect your family, the business itself.
Absolutely. Well, we talk about the need for continuity, right? Between whether it's an internal sale or an external sale of what you're intending to have happen, and the importance of putting things in place so that the business can continue to operate, continue to serve the customers, maintain the team that is there to be able to keep the processes going, to be able to meet the quality of service that you've come to be known for. And this is one of those disruptors that if so much of the business is tied to what you do and who you are, and you don't have those processes in place, the teams don't know how to operate or continue on these things apart from you, it sets you at a very big disadvantage, and it's going to be very difficult for you to maintain the trajectory of the business if you're gone, meaning there's going to be a lot of people depending on that now don't have the ability to meet those same needs.
Start with the family. Maybe if you're not there, maybe you haven't gone through our processes, and maybe the value of the business is diminished because you're not there.
Yeah.
Then you have enough other assets in place that would help. How old are you? I mentioned a 46-year-old person. Maybe they still have kids in college, a spouse to take care of, and you're the main breadwinner of the family. Perhaps there's other family members, but you're the main breadwinner. First, you start with your own family. What happens to your family? Can they replace the income and step in and run the business? What do you do there? And then the key people in the business too, we want to be mindful of them as well.
Absolutely. Well, and we see that, and we're going to talk about the next one. So it may not be death that does it, but it could be disability that hinders your ability as the business owner to step in and fulfill the normal roles that you do. And so what happens if you don't have that same level of input that you had before come into play in these scenarios? And it brings up a lot of the same concerns as before, right? The ability to continue the business, to have the same ability for the teams to carry out those processes, to be able to continue growing the business without your influence. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And people really, it makes sense. When you hear this, it makes perfectly good sense. And then here's what happens. You forget about it tomorrow and you don't do anything. And nothing happens and you're good to go. Okay, I went another day, another week, another month, another year. But you can never tell moving forward. We're just trying to protect and make sure that it doesn't have to be death. Maybe you got tons of life insurance. Oh, Steve, I've got $10 million in life insurance and I've got this and whatever else. Yeah, but what happens if you don't die? Life insurance is going to pay out if you die, but what happens to your income? Will the business be able to sustain itself? There's things you can do. One, make sure the business can operate with or without you. It operates better with you there, but at least can sustain itself through a disability. That might be a week because you had a surgery, 2 weeks, a month. But what happens if it's something more dramatic? Again, it's not, well, Steve, I'm a triathlete. I hear that one all the time. I'm in great shape. I've never been a doctor. It doesn't mean you won't get in an accident of some kind. Disability. These things don't happen often, but they only happen to happen to you once to wreck your entire financial future and put at risk everything that you put in place over the years.
Well, this also comes up when thinking about how you go about your transition, right? So a lot of times when you have a family business, right? For instance, so we have a family business and you and mom started the company that one of the companies, 20 some years ago now at this point. And you have my brother and I both work in that business. We've got other family members a part of this as well.
Your wives and other people.
And so oftentimes in those situations where you've got family and what's going to happen, are they prepared to take over? Are they ready, able, and willing to be able to step into that role? And is there going to be enough of a continuity plan if something were to happen to you or mom, God forbid? And are we prepared in that moment? It's not just will they be ready one day, but a lot of times it just
Now.
Even just having the conversation.
Right.
And we've done this where we've sat down and said, okay, here's what this looks like. And here's the conversations that we need to have in order to be prepared for the what ifs of life. It's not that you want them to happen. No, you really don't. But it's the fact that they could, and that if they do, we need to be prepared for the good of ourselves, our families, the team, everyone involved. And when you start by having those conversations, it really does put you on a better place to be able to handle them should they come up.
We talked about this last time. You know, as a financial advisor, I sell, things in the market, life insurance, annuities. I sell a lot of different things. But it's not just about having a ton of life insurance. It's not just about having disability insurance. Yes, those things play a key role. But as we talked about last time, if you're ready to exit your business, all right, whether it's for retirement or an exit, that means your business can be sustainable without you in it, right? Or maybe you just need to bring a little bit of a replacement. It can function, it can go on, it can operate, bringing in that revenue that you need for those family members that you mentioned, and those non-family member teammates that I assume that we personally treat like family, and I care about them. I want to make sure they're taken care of as well. So working on your business, so we're not talking about just buying a bunch of financial products. We're talking about the reason to put your business and grow your business with the end in mind. Making sure your business is ready to exit on any given moment means if you want to exit, you'll get top dollar. But if you want to keep it and can't be there to run it for whatever reason, it can run on without you.
Well, that's a really good point. We talk often that exit planning is really just good business planning.
100%.
That oftentimes business owners get this idea in their head that if I'm not ready to exit now, then exit planning really isn't for me. But really what exit planning is thinking about how can I maximize the value when I'm ready to sell, with the side benefits of if you're doing those things right that are going to help you exit well, that it's actually going to help you grow well now.
The weird thing is, too, I did this myself. I said in the last episode, I was mindful over the last few years. I'm now 68 years old. I have no intentions of ever exiting. I've had multiple offers on some of my businesses, and I could walk away with a nice chunk of money. But I'm passionate about especially the business owners. And with that in mind, but what I did want to have, as we said it, I want to have more work-life balance. So my goal was, and I just flippantly threw it out there a few years ago, I want to make more, work less, make more, work less, make more, work less. Well, unless you have these processes in place, you're going to work more and have less time. That's the way it went. If I wanted to make more money, I had to work more because it was all about me. I was the driver. I was the engine in the business. And so when I started working on processes, I had more time to enjoy. Yeah. I was making more money on top of that. That's the crazy thing. That I go, man, if I'd have thought about this years ago, if I'd have sought guidance years ago, what we're trying to teach you here, have both. A better life now, more money in your pocket, and your business is more valuable and ready to exit and protect that largest asset if any of these bad 5Ds happen to you.
Absolutely. So, number 1, death. Number 2, disability. Number 3, divorce.
It's all a bummer, man.
I know. This is not exactly the most encouraging episode, but it's one that we need to consider. Because if you don't, that's when things happen and you don't know how to handle it, and things get worse, not better after those incidents go down. So how could divorce play into a disruption for the business?
You might end up with let's say you have a partner, right? Take your own personal situation. It's not your divorce, but you have a partner, and now you end up splitting their half of they have to split their half of your business, their half of the business with their now ex. Now you went from being in business with somebody, maybe you have a great relationship, and now all of a sudden you're dealing with attorneys and other things, and maybe you have to, I don't know, I've seen it cause crazy things to happen.
Yikes.
Or it's a death situation, and you end up with their now ex-spouse as your owner. It can go, it has all kinds of tangents off of it.
And we've seen that not in the coaching side of our business, but what happened when someone passed away unexpectedly. The surviving spouse took over. wasn't really involved in terms of knowing what to do or how to go about it. And it hurt the value of the business. It hurt the ability of that business to keep growing and going, really even there, in a way that was actually sustainable. And it can happen. And we need to have a plan in place to make sure we're covered as much as you can be. Yeah, the contingency plans.
Contingency buy-sell updated buy-sell agreements. What happens if this? Have a plan of action in place about the what ifs. It's just, you've been in business long enough and you think you've seen it all, and then out of the blue something happens. You go, didn't see that one coming, right? And it could be distressful. It could it can harm the business. I promise you, when you have these types of things going on right here, the burnout rate increases dramatically.
Yep.
What was a great opportunity, all of a sudden now you're burnt out, you're distressed, and the value of that business starts to slip, and you want to exit, but you can't exit because you can't harvest enough equity out of it because it's less valuable to the... Somebody buying the business is going to look for a discount. They're not going to pay you top dollar because they see all kinds of and they're going to pounce. They're like a vulture. They're going to pounce on this distressful situation. And believe me, they will.
Absolutely. So, number 1, death. Number 2, disability. Number 3, divorce. Number 4, distress.
There's got to be a good D in here somewhere. But distress.
Nope, there's not.
It could be a distress. How many businesses were distressed because of COVID? How many businesses are distressed because of a market event, a slowing economy, inflation, labor issues, distress, a disagreement? Wasn't a divorce, it was a disagreement with your partner. I've seen that a lot.
Way to jump to number 5.
I know, but it can but the distress can have all kinds of different levels in it. And whatever the distress in the economy, who saw COVID coming, right? There's many businesses, I've seen stats recently that said that if this inflation continues, over 30% of the businesses may not succeed past 2024. Much less 2025. So distress can come in all kinds of forms and flavors. That's why you want to people's processes, have your balance sheet squared away, make sure that, we talk about carrying too much debt, making sure all these things that can cause a situation that, anyway, you want to have it's kind of like getting a checkup every year. Sometimes these are things that you go to the doctor and you don't want to hear it, but if you take action and fix it, you feel much better at the doctor's visits in the future, anytime you go in the future. So I would say distress comes in many flavors, and you want to at least have some awareness of what that might be.
Well, and a lot of it could be, I think of this issue going to the issue of timing, right? So we talk about the timing of an exit, and sometimes a part of your evaluation and one of the impacts of the multiple that you could get for your business is industry related. Right. So what's going on in your industry at that moment that could impact it? It could be in a favorable way. Something's really hot right now and it's a great time for you to transition, maybe part or all of the company. But it could also be the other way because of things going on in your industry. Things are trending downward, right? And you're not going to get as high of a multiple as if you did before. So what happens in those cases if you can't get what you wanted or what you thought you could get for the business in that time? That could be one of the ramifications of distress.
How many businesses aren't around anymore? AI and all kinds of things are changing industries around. And, like for you people in the tax space, artificial intelligence, with doing a basic tax preparing, you're just getting a tax return prepared. Unless you're doing tax planning, I don't know what you're going to do in the future because AI is going to replace many of those jobs and you may not be in business. That's just one example. So industry changes. You might want to sell right now, there's a lot of industries, a lot of money floating around out there. You might say, well, I'm going to exit in 5 years. Well, you may not get in 5 years. Are you sure? If that industry, what is the trend in that industry? It may make time to sell part of your business right now. Take a cut of the apple right now, put aside, harvest some of the equity, and maybe partner up with somebody even better so you can turn a potential distressful situation, one that could hurt your business, not cause any value to be harvested in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and now turn it into a much more positive situation.
Yeah, that's a really important aspect to consider. And then the last one, which you brought up a little bit ago, Well, spoiler alert there. Number 5, disagreement. So we've seen this before where you've got partners in a business who maybe they've been doing great for years, but they have differences of opinion in what should be done or how things should go about, what's the future opportunities for that company looking like. And that could have an impact on how you exit it if you don't plan appropriately and things like that. So can you shed some light on us on to what this factor really gets to?
So many examples. One, if you hate going in and you can't make a decision, you know something needs to be done, but your partner will not agree on it, there's stress. Stress leads to burnout. Burnout leads to, it feeds off and bleeds off into your team. It maybe causes you to lose key employees. Your clients don't want to deal with you because you're not dealing with situations. The business suffers and it's less valuable, and now you're stuck. I've seen it just even recently where somebody had that situation and they wanted that both the partners, they just want to get out. They just want out. But they thought their business, they're using numbers from like 5 years ago. Dude, your business is down that downward slide. It is not worth anything what you said it was. They had an offer in place. It fell apart. They had another offer. It fell apart. Why? Because they thought the business was worth this, but that distress, that disagreement with their partners is bled over, and now the business is less valuable. It leads to health issues. It leads to all kinds of things. It is not a good scenario.
So the 5 Ds, again, just to recap for us: death, disability, divorce, distress, disagreement. Not a fun list to be able to talk through.
Go
but
the other side. Don't die.
Yeah, don't die. Yeah. So, but this does raise the expect the unexpected type.
No doubt.
Type phrase, right? To the recommendation here to not just wait until something disrupts your business, but to be proactive in thinking about it. And again, this goes back to one of our phrases that we love to say, but it's necessary for business owners to do, to work on your business, not just in it. This is one of those key working on the businesses that needs to happen. Having the things in place, should something happen to you or key employees, how do you respond? Who takes over, and are they ready, able and willing to step into this new role and carry on the function of the business?
You know what? The business too, it's like your baby. You don't want anybody that you know and love to get hurt. You definitely don't want them to die. But my point is, if you don't have these things covered, your business could die. Your baby could die through distress, your death, or just not having the people and processes in place for the business to continue on. It's not one of those smiley, joking around things. I try to joke around with it a little bit because if you get it fixed, I don't worry about these things anymore because I got things in place that would continue on. My family would not suffer. I'm taking, in mind, I want my teammates to be taken care of, all that. It took me a while to get there. But anyway, and I've got peace of mind that no matter what happens, I'm 68 years old and pretty healthy. Exercise a lot. Doctor tells me that things are good. That doesn't mean anything. Again, a meteorite could take me out of here tomorrow. You never know. But I've got comfort in mind that my businesses could continue on. Somebody would write a check and buy them out from me, or my kids can run them and my teams can keep on, or my family wouldn't suffer if I'm not around anymore.
Yeah. And that's really what we've been talking about here is what proper business planning, proper exit planning make possible for the business owner. It helps you scale with the end in mind, like we talked about in episode 19. It helps you to exit on your terms because you're prepared for those conversations. And if it's time and you can step away because you've put things in place to be able to do that, great. And you can be prepared for the what ifs. What if it doesn't go exactly as I planned or wanted it to? But because we took the steps, being consistent in our understanding of our evaluation of the business, being intentional about how every 90 days we're coming back to what do we need to improve on specifically, what are the areas of growth that we need to focus on in order to make sure that we're on track to be able to head in that direction. All of these things make it possible for you to win at work and life because you're taking the time to consider the things that you need to consider in order to have the peace of mind, have the confidence about the decisions you're making.
Really quick, 5 steps in the valuation, increasing the value of your business. First, you identify the value. That's the very first step. Where you fall in, the range of value compared to worst in value, average business owner, best in class, all those types of things, where you identify your strengths and weaknesses, and you measure that, and you look at it constantly every 90 days, as you mentioned. And then the second step is protect what you got. Before you can build, before you can exit, you got to protect and de-risk. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about de-risking your business. That alone it's easy to do. It increases the value of your business, makes it more marketable to somebody else coming in because you got people, processes, and things in place to handle all these things, your business, and keep it going on.
Hey, you got a nice little preview of one of the future podcast episodes. So there you go. You got the first 2 steps down.
That's right.
Come back.
It's a teaser.
Come back later for steps 3 through 5. Until next time, keep scaling, right? If you like this episode and want to hear more from Scale to Sell, please follow the podcast so that you never miss an episode, whatever your favorite podcast platform of choice is. As a new and growing podcast, rating and reviewing the podcast can be incredibly helpful so that we can have even more entrepreneurs like yourself join our growing community of business owners. And of course, if you haven't already signed up for the Business Builder Thursday weekly email that we send out, we'd love to be able to have you on there. Share some extra tactical and practical tips with you that you get into your inbox each and every Thursday morning. But until next time, keep scaling.
Thank you for listening to Scale to Sell with Adam Burton and Steve Burton. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.scaletosell.com or give us a call at 757-313-4080. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Scale to Sell. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing, tax, legal, or other advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professionals with any questions you may have regarding your personal or professional plans. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.